exposing the propaganda and challenging you to use your brain. It's time to tap into the truth.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed time to tap into the truth. Welcome to the night's broadcast. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. It is December 16th. It is a Monday. And if you are catching this on a podcast, well, then it is whatever day it is you found us. At any rate, I realize that I've started saying the hope you're having a great day. It starts to sound a little mechanical, but I want you to know I do actually mean it. If you're taking the time to sit here and listen to this show, then I appreciate it. Whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me, whether you just came across it by accident and haven't shut me off yet, whatever the reason you're still listening, I appreciate you taking the time to do so. Hope you'll take the time to go ahead and push the little follow button while you're at it and keep up with the show in the future. Whether, again, you agree with me or whether you disagree with me, maybe it'll be entertaining either way. Regardless, like I said, I do hope you're having a great day. Want to go ahead and throw out a few housekeeping things. If you didn't listen to Tap Into the Truth Blog Talk edition that took place this past Sunday, I had Danny Page on for his second visit with us. He was on for just a little bit over an hour, and again, he talked a little bit about his platform and his campaign. He is one of the conservatives that is challenging Lamar Alexander in the U.S. Senate primary here in Tennessee. Well worth the time. I highly recommend you track it down, find it, give it a listen. If you're a voter here in Tennessee and you have any interest in the Lamar Alexander campaign whatsoever, whether you're a supporter of his and just want to hear what the competition has to say, or if you are a non-Lamar voter and would like to see him primaried out, maybe it'll give you an opportunity to hear who these competitors are. I have had State Representative Joe Carr on a previous episode over there too. You can find past shows and the player at tapintothetruth.com. I highly recommend you check out the website. On the home page, of course, there is a ton of videos, and at the bottom of the videos, down near the bottom, there's a place where you can either send a message from the site, or a little bit below that, there's another link where you can simply push a button and send an email directly to the Tap Into the Truth email. I will get those. And one of the things that I'm asking from all of you guys is, as you well know, as we're swiftly moving towards the end of the year, countdown shows are all the rage. Everybody wants to count down everything from the top 100 hits and songs of the year to books to movies, and those are some of the things that just make the most sense. We've got to the point now where we count down the best, we count down the worst, we count down things you didn't even realize anybody was counting. Well, one of the things I like to do is, if you're a long-time listener to the show, you know that I like to find stories that are being underreported and bring those to your attention too. I like to challenge you to think. Use your brain. It's right there in the intro, and I usually say it again as we're headed out of the show. I want people to think about what's going on. So, if you go over to the Tap Into the Truth Facebook page, you'll find links to all kinds of stories. Some of them are completely legitimate. Some of them are red herrings. I want you to push back. I want you to tell me when you find something that's not true, because I want you thinking. That's the whole point. Tapping into the truth, despite being just a clever word play on my name. Yes, that's right. Your host, Tim Tapp, right here, broadcasting live from historic Rowan County, Tennessee. But it's also what I really want you to do. You have to be ready to go past the headlines, delving past the headlines. Every word in the intro was carefully selected because it's what you have to do if you want to find the truth, as opposed to just the media spin. And oh yes, there is always media spin. There is bias in almost all media. You can't find a media now. There's no outlet that does not have bias in how it reports. Most of the bigger outlets, the more mainstream outlets, of course, have a liberal bias. They don't think so. But just the very way they phrase headlines, the very way that they tell their stories, the very way that they frame how the stories are written, has a very strong liberal bias. They're around it so much and around other people just like themselves, they don't even realize it half the time. Honestly, a lot of them think they're being fair straight down the middle. They don't seem to understand that, no, that's not what you're doing. That's why everybody thought Fox News was so far right-wing when they first came out. Now, understand I'm talking about the news shows, not the opinion shows that come on later. The opinion shows are definitely slanted from a conservative viewpoint, or at the very least, they're right-wing. Some of them are just truly conservative, Sean Hannity being one of those. Some of them, I don't know. I have not watched the Kelly Files yet. I actually haven't watched a lot of Fox News lately, period. Nothing against the programming, just haven't had time. But regardless of that, the news shows on Fox, they literally did try to report right down the middle, and still do for the most part, although there is slowly a slant starting to appear. Not so much to the right, however, which is a little disappointing, but I've said it before, and I've said it literally dozens of times. When you start out so far to the left, and you're looking over at what's dead center, that looks pretty far right to you. And that was part of the problem. Oh, you're so crazy, right-wing. Ah! No, they were actually just down the center. You're so far left, you couldn't tell. Regardless of all that, the point still stands. You have to be willing to look at multiple sources. You have to look at both sides. And you have to look beyond just what they're trying to tell you. If you go through skimming just headlines from your websites or what have you, they would have you believe in all kinds of crazy stuff that just isn't quite the truth. As an example, and I hate to point this example out because this is a case of a conservative organization, once again, exaggerating the claim in the headline. A lot of you guys may have seen this today, too, if you were paying attention to online, where headline was making the circles and all the conservative media online, that Newt Gingrich schooled another panelist on one of the particular shows that he appeared on this past Sunday, and left him utterly speechless. Well, he did make very valid points, and you could say that that was schooling, but he didn't leave the guy speechless. In fact, he was jumping right back in to say something when the video cuts off. So it's those kind of exaggerations that kind of hurt the cause. Newt made great points, and I'm not exactly a Newt Gingrich fan. I don't dislike Newt exactly. I think he did a great job when he was Speaker of the House, forcing the Clinton administration to the realization that America needs conservative policies in place in order to be successful. But unfortunately, in recent years, primarily, Newt has kind of demonstrated himself to be a big government guy. He thinks government is part of the solution regardless, and that in essence makes him a progressive. Whether he likes it or not, he kind of falls into that category. He's a big government guy. That concerns me. I have a hard time supporting big government people. I like conservative people who embrace conservative values and who want small government. The smaller, the better. If you're not on board with that, then you need to look at the genuine history. Don't look at the spin. Don't look at the media hype, but look at the actual genuine history. Why was the Clinton administration so good on the economy? They weren't when the Democrats had control of Congress, too. It wasn't until the Republicans took control of the House and Newt Gingrich was the Speaker and they had the contract with America, and Newt forced Clinton to come to the bargaining table, and they adopted several conservative policies. And then the economy became a positive thing. Everybody wants to talk about how great the economy was under Clinton. They don't want to talk about the fact that Clinton was drug kicking and screaming to conservative policies because of Newt Gingrich. They don't want to talk about that. Fine. Don't want to talk about it? You don't have to admit it out loud. You don't have to go out in public and say, yeah, that's right. Just admit it to yourself and move on. Because here's the bottom line, and the point that Newt made in his video, by the way, is the same thing. Wherever you go, wherever you look, where conservative policies are put in place, there is economic success, and thereby there is individual success. Wherever you have liberal, so-called progressive policies put in place, there is destitution, there is failure, there is bankruptcy. Right now, the most economically challenged places in this nation, the most crime-ridden places in this nation, are places where there have been democratic stranglehold control of the municipalities or the counties or even the states, if you want to go to that level. It's just that simple. Now, you can deny it. You can say, oh, you're crazy, Tim. You're just nuts. And, sometimes I am, but that's beside the point. You still can't argue with the results. You can't argue with the facts. It's often been said, you can have your own opinion. You can't have your own facts. If you take a look at the facts, if you take a look at statistics, gun control arguments fall by the wayside because gun violence is only an issue in places that have strict gun control laws. Individual bankruptcies are highest in places where people aren't allowed success because opportunities are crushed by liberal policies. Just take a look around. You don't even have to stay in the United States. You can look at the, what is it they call it, the democratic socialism of Europe. Take a look at it. A lot of European countries are dying under the debt that is crushing them because of these so-called progressive policies. Speaking of gun control issues, and it's undoubtedly, I'm thankful it hasn't really been over-politicized too awful much yet. I have a feeling that there's going to be more and more and a bit of a build-up coming. There's been a few folks out there banging the drum, and some more folks will pick it up. But the shooting this past Friday in Arapahoe High School in Colorado, some of the details were sketchy, and we were talking about that a little bit in the last broadcast here. Information then was saying that the girl was a 15-year-old. Turns out she was a 17-year-old. And she's still not doing real well. So, first of all, I'd like to send a shout-out to everybody who would be willing to please send prayers, thoughts, positive energy, whatever your spiritual path permits you to do. Prayer does work, okay? This girl still needs it. She is still in a coma. The 17-year-old student who was shot Friday afternoon at Arapahoe High School in Centennial, Colorado, is still in a coma, and she remains in critical condition. At different points in the day, I saw conflicting reports. Early on the day, there was hope that she was showing some level of improvement. Now they say she's kind of taken a turn for the worst. I'm not sure how much difference you can tell while someone's in a coma, but I'm not arguing the reports. You see different things you don't know. The girl's name is Claire Davis. Her family posted an update on her condition on the Littleton Adventist Hospital's Facebook page Sunday night. The statement basically said that she remains in critical condition. She's stable, but is in a coma. The first responders got Claire to the right place at the right time, and the doctors and the hospital staff are doing a wonderful job taking care of her. We appreciate your continued good thoughts and prayers, and we'll provide updates as her condition improves. We again ask you to respect our wishes for privacy and refrain from contacting us, our extended family, or Claire's friends and classmates, as we all want to ensure that only accurate information about Claire is shared. And the update went on, but I hope most of us are doing exactly that. I don't want to get involved in an inappropriate level of dissertation of her condition. Davis, as it turns out, is a senior at the high school. She was shot point blank in the head on this past Friday when she wound up in the path of 18-year-old shooting suspect Carl Pearson. Now, authorities do not believe Davis was targeted specifically. She was an innocent young lady, and she was an innocent victim of an evil act of violence. That was a quote from the Arapahoe County Sheriff Robinson. He gave that quote over the weekend. He also said that she probably was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, Pearson entered the high school around 12:30 p.m. on Friday, local time, carrying a pump-action shotgun, a machete, 3 Molotov cocktails, and with ammunition strapped to his body. Now, according to the Denver Post, Pearson legally bought the shotgun several days before, allegedly to enact a revenge plot against the school's librarian and debate coach, Tracy Murphy. The rampage only lasted about 80 seconds. Pearson was found dead inside the school of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Now, another quote, this time from Colorado's beloved gun control Democratic governor, Hickenlooper. Quote, "We all have to keep Claire in our thoughts and prayers. Finally, something I can agree with this man on." According to news reports that a close friend of the Davis family said that the main concern is the swelling around Claire's brain. Overall, over the course of the weekend, there were numerous vigils and rallies around Centennial for Claire. On Saturday, nearly 500 people gathered for a candlelight vigil near the school. I can tell you there was even vigils and activities here locally in East Tennessee. Up in Knoxville, there was a specific one that I can think of right offhand. And part of what concerns me is, in this case, they were looking very much at, what needs to be done? More needs to be done. We're not doing enough. There should be more done. Yeah, I agree, there should be. But they are also hinting more gun control is the answer. Again, to point out, earlier this year, that governor I was talking about just a second ago signed into law some of the strictest gun control laws that exist in the country, and they are now statewide. This entire set of gun control has set in motion several recall elections for Democratic state representatives and state senators in their legislature, and also brought forth several northern Colorado counties to legally look into the possibility of seceding from the state of Colorado, feeling like they're no longer represented appropriately in their state legislature. Gun control is not the answer. You can't legislate behavior. I mean, if somebody wants to go do evil, they're going to find a way to go do it. If they have to take a stick, if they have to do whatever. There are all kinds of other juicy details about this story, too, and I don't want to get involved with he said, she said, and all this crap, because ultimately it doesn't matter if this guy was a liberal, which a lot of folks are saying, yes, he was, and he had strong ideas about gun control. And in the liberal mindset of the ends justify the means, and make no mistakes about it, the ultra-leftists that are all about the progressive agenda do genuinely believe the ends justify the means. They might be willing to do something like this and sacrificed their own life just to try and convince a few more people that we need more gun control. But I don't know what was on his mind or in his heart when he did this, so I'm not going to speculate, and I'm not going to extrapolate that that's what he was up to. I'll leave that for other people to do, and if you want to engage in that kind of activities, fine. I say let's not politicize this, much like we should not have politicized Columbine, we should not have politicized Sandy Hook, we should not politicize hurricanes, natural disasters. These are incidences where people need help and we need to pull together. These are incidences where there are tragedies and we need to allow the families to grieve. We need to grieve with them if necessary. We need to offer emotional support. But we do not need to overreact. We don't need to have knee-jerk reactions. We don't need to try and scrap any part of the Constitution just because we don't agree with it. So there's my soapbox moments on the topic. Again, I ask that you send your prayers, your positive thoughts, your positive energies, whatever your spiritual path suggests that you do, and help this young girl. She obviously, no matter what else was going on, she didn't deserve to be shot in the head point blank by this guy who was looking to settle a score elsewhere. So, folks, please, send the positive thoughts. I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back, we will get to the main topic of today. The NSA Phone Program likely is unconstitutional? Really? Just likely? Come on. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Yes, that's right. We are back. I'm going to go ahead and let the Christmas music play underneath me for a little bit. Because, the closer we get to Christmas, the more Christmassy I feel. I hope that you're feeling the same way. And while we're on the topic of the music, I want to make sure that everyone's aware that I'm using a service called Magnatune. This music is pod safe. It is legal. Pay a small fee, and they help provide an opportunity for indie musicians to get their music out there. I like the whole idea of that. I'm willing to pay a little bit to help these independent artists because they don't have the backing of a record label. And if you know anything about the music business, there's no tougher way to try and make a living in music than to do it as an independent artist. You're out there and you're doing it, and let's face facts, no matter how good you are, you're still doing it as an act of love. You love music. That's why you're doing it. Some of these guys are absolutely phenomenal, though. You'll get a chance to hear some of this other stuff when we move to the bumper music after Christmas, and we're no longer playing all that great music, the Christmas stuff. And, I absolutely love Christmas time. I hope that you do, too. If you don't celebrate Christmas in your household, whatever it is that you may be celebrating, I hope that your festivals, if you're doing Hanukkah, whatever, hope you're having a great festival of lights. I will acknowledge Yule. I will acknowledge almost everything except for Kwanzaa. Sorry, guys. Kwanzaa's completely made up. Completely. It's not real. Made up by a guy who was pretending to be a radical the whole time he was an FBI informant. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. At any rate, using Magnatune. And if you're a podcaster and you're looking for safe bumper music or just podcast safe music, period, I recommend you check them out. There's some other services. I might throw some of that out to you later, but let's face facts. Most of you guys, if you're already doing this stuff, you've probably already looked at some of these things. It's a matter of expense, what's available. It's fantastic. Also, I want to go ahead and once again mention my friends over at Lady Patriots. I've mentioned several times before some of the alternative social media networks. Alternative as in an alternative to Facebook. Now, let's face it, a lot of my Facebook friends hate that I put so much political stuff on the timeline. If you're looking for a place that's safe to do that, I've mentioned in the past patriotspace.com. Well, my friends over at Lady Patriots have now officially taken over management of Patriot Space. They've changed the name. Now it's LadyPatriotspace.com. But don't worry, you don't have to be a lady to be a member. They welcome gentlemen patriots just the same. And student patriots too. Go ahead and check them out. That's LadyPatriotspace.com. Sign up for a membership. I think if you are interested in politics and consider yourself to be a patriot, you'll probably enjoy being active there. Now, I kind of got to thinking and I realized I didn't finish making my point earlier. I kind of got off track just a little bit. I got on a roll and kind of skidded right past the point. I'm asking you people to go to the tapintothetruth.com to send me a message either through the email link near the very bottom of the homepage or through the little message section that you'll see, which is also close to the bottom of the homepage. Just scroll down past the videos. Yeah, feel free to check any of the videos out that you want to while you're there. In fact, check out some of the past blogs. Check out the links to the show. You can find both versions of the show there available. You also can find us at TuneIn.com. You can find us at Stitcher.com. And you can find us on iTunes. So, those are other great places to find the show. But what I want you to send me the message for at the show, at the website, is the countdown. I want to do a countdown show probably early in the year. I'll probably wait till January to do it. But I want to do a countdown show. It's a little different than the average countdown. I want your guys' opinion on what were the biggest news stories of the year that got the least amount of mainstream media coverage. And by biggest, I mean most important. I want to get messages from all the listeners. I want to compile a list. And I probably will try and limit it to about 20. But, if there are enough good submissions, we'll take the list longer. I don't want to get into an hour-long 100 top stories, although, honestly, you could probably find 100 stories easily that the media ignored completely, that if Americans really knew and understood, they'd be pretty upset about. So, I think that covers most of the other housekeeping issues. So let's get to the topic. Today, as it turns out, we had a federal judge take a look at a complaint. In fact, the federal judge, easy for me to say. Stay with me, guys. Sorry about that. A federal judge ruled Monday that the National Security Agency's phone record surveillance program is likely unconstitutional. Really? Just likely? U.S. District Court Judge Richard Leon said that the agency's controversial program, first revealed by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden earlier this year, appears to violate the Constitution's Fourth Amendment, which protects Americans against unreasonable searches and seizures. The program collects records of the time and phone numbers involved in every phone call made in the United States of America, and allows the database to be queried for connections to suspected terrorists. Quote, I cannot imagine a more indiscriminate and arbitrary invasion than this systematic and high-tech collection and retention of personal data on virtually every single citizen for purposes of querying it and analyzing it without judicial approval, wrote Leon, who, just happens to be a George W. Bush appointee. Isn't it funny how I can guarantee you, as this is going to be reported, every mainstream news media outlet is going to be really quick to point out that Leon was a W appointee. Why? Because they want this, just like everything else, to be highly politicized. I'm kind of have a theory about why all of a sudden the Democrats are seemingly not liberal at all when it comes to how much surveillance and hammer-fistedness that they're dropping this apparent fascist regime here. But I'll get into that theory once we finish the article here. Now, he continued. Indeed, I have little doubt that the author of our Constitution, James Madison, who cautioned us to beware the abridgment of freedoms of the people by gradual and silent encroachments by those in power, would be aghast. Yeah, I think all of the founders and the framers would be pretty much aghast if they had any idea what our federal government was doing these days. But at any rate, the federal ruling came down after conservative activist Larry Klayman filed a lawsuit against the program back in June. The suit claimed that the NSA surveillance violates the U.S. Constitution and also federal laws, including but not limited to the outrageous breach of privacy, freedom of speech, freedom of association, and the due process rights of American citizens. Leon largely seemed to agree, ordering the government to stop collecting the phone records of Klayman and other plaintiffs, and to destroy the records already collected. But he also stayed that order, giving the government another chance to argue the program doesn't violate the Constitution. Quote, we've seen the opinion and are studying it. We believe the program is constitutional, and previous judges have found this, according to the State Department, or at least in a statement released by the Justice Department. I'm sorry. Not the State Department. They're all a bunch of crooks, criminals, and nefarious. Anyway, back to the point. Statement released by the Justice Department. Klayman's lawsuit was the first against the agency over the phone records program. Back in October, a separate district judge in New York heard arguments in another lawsuit brought by the American Civil Liberties Union against the phone record program. In a statement, the ACLU's legal director, Jamel Jeffer, said that, quote, this is a strongly worded and carefully reasoned decision that ultimately concludes absolutely correctly that the NSA call tracking program can't be squared with the Constitution. It really makes me nervous when I find myself agreeing with the ACLU, okay? It's scary for me. You know how often these guys are on the wrong side of an argument? Scary. At any rate, in both cases, the government has argued that a 1979 Supreme Court case supports its contention that once Americans have turned over personal information on whom they have called and when to their phone providers, they have lost their claims to privacy. Exactly at what point are people turning over personal information on whom they've called? they're using a service that by definition has to connect them. That's not turning over personal information. That's entrusting personal information. I kind of think that's an important distinction. I don't know about you guys. At any rate, Leon said that the present-day circumstances, the evolutions in the government surveillance capabilities, citizens' phone habits, and the relationship between the NSA and telecom companies made this case before him thoroughly unlike the 1979 dispute. Unlike 30 years ago, he said, the phone companies are now operating, quote, what is effectively a joint intelligence gathering operation with the government. And our phone call metadata, subject to almost, quote, almost Orwellian government technology, is far more revealing now than it was then. Again, I question the phrasing almost. This is Orwellian. This is 1984. And for those of you who haven't read George Orwell's 1984, pick it up, read it. Scary what you might see as far as the comparison to what's actually going on these days. At any rate, Leon was unimpressed with the orders from the Foreign Intelligence Services Court, established by Congress to rule on the NSA activities in secret, that have authorized the bulk metadata collection. When constitutional rights are involved, he said, quote, Congress should not be able to cut off a citizen's right to judicial review of that government action simply because it's intended for the conduct to remain secret. Congress, quote, may not hang a cloak of secrecy over the Constitution. In Congress, where members have been debating whether to end the NSA's program, one senator immediately hailed Leon's ruling. Quote, the ruling underscores what I've argued for years. The bulk collection of America's phone records conflicts with the Americans' privacy rights under the U.S. Constitution and has failed to make us safer. That was Senator Mark Udall, actually a Democrat from Colorado. Senate Intelligence Committee member said in a statement, quote, we can protect our national security without trampling our constitutional liberties. Like I said, I get nervous when I'm agreeing with Democrats and the ACLU. It's scary for me, okay? But, you know, again, this kind of illustrates the difference between the so-called progressives and the folks that really are liberal. Honest to goodness liberals, if you look at the actual definition, if you look at the meaning, if you look at people who really are liberal, these are guys that were afraid of Big Brother. Well, afraid is probably a poor word choice. They were protesting Big Brother. They were concerned about Big Brother. They were afraid of a fascist state developing. They always thought those mean old nasty Republicans were going to become fascist. Didn't want the government creating enemies lists, Hillary Clinton, and didn't want the government using its powers, IRS targeting Tea Party, to get out of hand and to crush citizens' rights and to create unconstitutional, unfair, and illegal advantages for their friends, Solentra, crony capitalism, just giving away free stuff to people that donate to the campaigns. Well, I'm coughing a lot tonight. What is that? I'm having a lot of fun. I told you I'm in a good mood because of Christmas. But here's the thing, folks. This NSA phone program, likely unconstitutional, that's the way they're phrasing the headlines. Why are they phrasing the headlines that way? Because they still want you to believe there's a chance that it might not be unconstitutional. The Obama administration and all the Democrats in leadership roles in the Democratic Party want you to believe that it's legal. They wouldn't do the wrong thing. But it's kind of funny when W was doing a lot of the same kind of thing, only not quite as much of it. Then it was scary stuff. Those crazy Republicans are out to trample every constitutional right you've got. The hypocrisy is mind-boggling, except for the fact that, you know what? We're kind of slow cooking on one side, fast cooking on the other. The same things are coming down. That leads me to my little theory. Here's my thought on the whole deal. You know, all of a sudden, a lot of people think Edward Snowden is a hero or he's a traitor. I think he's just doing his job. I have thought for some time, and I've said this on air before, said it early on, I think the guy is acting under orders. I think he was sent over there to leak this information. I think they're hoping maybe the Russians will trust him enough that they can use him as a spy. I don't think that part will actually happen. I think they were hoping, and that's why there's still all this tough talk about how he's facing felony charges if he ever comes back to the States. That announcement came from Jay Carney today. That was a quote that he gave. Of course, he didn't say it quite like I did, but he still said it. Still facing federal charges, felony charges. He leaked classified information. I think they wanted that information out. I think they want this argument going on back and forth about the program. I think they want the Americans to know how bad this is, because they know this is something that both Democrats and Republicans, the base of the American citizen, can get behind. They have intentionally politicized the Secret Service a couple of times during the Obama administration. They're trying to give these folks a black eye. I think they're trying to denigrate and bust up the capabilities of both the NSA and the CIA, and I guess you can throw in the Secret Service to a degree. Because ultimately, they don't want someone else to be able to use them later on. I think they want to do away with it because these are still government agencies that have the means and the ability to stop the big so-called progressive push to do away with the Constitution. Whatever means are necessary to cause that. Whatever tinfoil hat group you might be part of, if you're thinking they want to force martial law, if you think they're going to force a third term for Obama, if you think they're going to do whatever it is you think they're going to do, they're just going to collapse the economy, or they're just trying to set up for the next progressive socialist who comes along to finish off the job and make those moves. You know, I'm concerned. I see these patterns. They're still using the same playbook, and we've talked about the playbook before. That's what this talk about raising the minimum wage is about, too. Populist behavior, trying to create an army of people willing to fight. And that's what Obamacare is about as well. We got a lot of folks frustrated because they know they can't afford these Obamacare programs. But the important thing to remember there is Obamacare was never meant to work. They wanted it to fail, and they wanted it to fail so badly that you were willing to accept a single-payer system, full socialism of medicine, just because you think it would have to be better than what we ended up with. That's what that's about. So wake up, open your eyes. But you know what? As I'm very fond of saying, don't take my word for it. Definitely don't take their word for it. Take a little time. Use your brain. Do your own research. And be prepared to work just a little bit harder if you really want to tap into the truth. That's tonight's show, everybody. Thanks for listening in. I'm going to close out with a little more Christmas music, but I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. And remember, check out tapintothetruth.com. Check us out on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the show, man. It's not so bad. Anyway, oh, that's a great sales pitch, isn't it, by the way? Oh, it's not so bad. Anyway, we'll be back again soon. Thanks for listening, and have a great week, everybody. We'll be back soon.